So what are the impacts when we do something wrong to a woman? Like what emotionally do you lot go through, and what happens like that we don't see?
Boy, um, I guess it's all going to depend on what the act the act is. Um, but I think, and this is something that I am going to approach in my series at some point. I didn't want to do it straight away because I feel like I've done too many kind of relationship-y type ones now, and I want to focus on something else like finance or family. But one of the things I'm gonna talk about, which I feel like men need to understand, is that in this day and age, what has happened is that we have somehow, women have been objectified for so long that men have started to refuse to see us as people and people who actually go through emotions. And it becomes so far removed from how they act that when they do something, they're not thinking about how it will emotionally affect the other person. So I'll give you an example. I was having a conversation with a friend a couple of weeks ago, and they were telling me that, one of their friends, he just received a phone call from a friend's girlfriend asking if he'd heard from him because she'd been trying to get through to his phone, and she hadn't been able to get through to his phone. So she sent him some messages, and it hadn't worked. So she was just trying to find out if maybe he knew where he was or if something had happened to him. She was worried. So he then calls his friend and gets through to his friend and has a conversation with a friend and asks him like what's going on. And he was like, "Oh, I've blocked her." And so the friend obviously is like, "Wait, what?" These people have been in a relationship with each other for 6 months. They met on social media. They've been seeing each other for 6 months. Now, I don't know the relationship, like I'm not in it, so I can't make any comments as to the relationship. But according to the friend I was speaking to, these guys were chummy. They'd been seeing each other for 6 months. As far as he was concerned, like everything was gravy. That was his girl, blah, blah, blah. So then my friend then says to him, "Oh, like, so why, like, what's going on?" He's like, "I don't want to be with her anymore." Okay, like, what's the reason? Because, like, you guys were, like, the last time I spoke to you, you guys were good, blah, blah, blah. And his response was, "Oh, she's fat." So I was like, "Wait, what?" And he was like, "Oh, he said that the girl's fat. He doesn't want to be with her anymore." So I was like, "What? Has the girl, like, systematically put on weight over the last 6 months?" "No, she's the same weight." So you knew her size when you first started seeing her 6 months ago, but 6 months down the line, you've decided that she's fat and therefore you don't want to be with her. Now, the actual content of what I'm saying is not even the problem. Him deciding she was fat, blah, 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 that's fine. The problem I have with this entire situation is you've been seeing someone for 6 months. And instead of having a conversation with them and saying you don't want to be with them, you've just blocked them. Now, as somebody I haven't experienced blocking, but I've experienced what we quote unquote call ghosting. It literally rips you to shreds. I'm not even joking. I feel like when a guy just decides to disappear, it's horrible. Yet alone someone I've been seeing for 6 months who again, I don't know whether they were boyfriend and girlfriend or whatever, but I've been seeing you for 6 months. So I deserve for you to sit me down and tell me why you no longer want to be with me anymore. Not just literally drop me like a sack of bricks, like I don't exist as an emotional human being. Like that process of me waking up in the morning to check my phone to send you a message and it not going through is not going to basically damage me. So you on the other side of that, how do you not see that individual as an emotional person, somebody's child, somebody who you saw for 6 months and therefore you should respect them enough to just tell them you don't want to be with them, but you just cut them off? And I don't hear stories to that extreme all the time, but I hear similar stories all the time, which must mean that there's some kind of a paradigm shift in how men are viewing women, because they're viewing them as like, I can be seeing you for the last 6 months and just wake up one day and decide I don't want to call you anymore. And therefore you will never hear from me again. And as a woman, you've invested your time into this person and they've just decided, oh, well, you're nothing to them, so they can just get up and not call you and walk away. There's like this emotional disconnect that men have towards women now that is actually really quite scary, because it's like, that's someone's daughter. That could be your sister, that could be your mum, that could be your cousin. And the fact that you can just get up and just decide, meh, I don't need to hear from this person again. It's like crazy, because I could never wake up one day and just decide I'm going to cut you off. I will have a conversation with you and say, this is the reason why I feel like we should no longer see each other. But just to just disappear, it's horrible. And as a man, you just don't understand what that does to a woman. It emotionally damages us and it makes us feel insecure. We ask ourselves this question, like, what did I do wrong? What could I have said? What could I have done? What's wrong with me? That's the number one thing that women will ask themselves. What's wrong with me? Why is it that he's just gone? What did I do? Is there something wrong? Have I done something? That's what we will ask ourselves, and we will beat ourselves up emotionally and physically, and we will convince ourselves that there is something wrong with us, which is why this guy's just upped and walked out of our lives, or this guy's done this to us. Like, if a guy cheats on you, you just think, well, what could I have done to stop him? What's wrong with me? Why did he feel that he needed to be with somebody else? Because I feel like I'm giving him everything that he needs. What have I done? And we do this all the time. We beat ourselves up. So what men have to understand is, when you do something to a woman, it really damages them and it causes them to be so insecure about them, because they believe the reason for the hurt is their fault.